For 14 years, I gave everything to Sterling Construction, the company my family owned. I started working summers when I was 22, learned how to estimate costs in college, and eventually became head of operations after earning my engineering degree. While I was here building and sacrificing, my sister Rebecca had been living in Chicago, working in marketing and visiting occasionally. Michael, my dad interrupted my thoughts. Are you listening? I focused on the three faces staring at me. Sorry, what? Your position isn't changing, Dad said calmly, like he was offering me something good. Rebecca will become CEO when I step down next year, but you'll stay as operations director. My sister smiled at me, part sympathy, part victory. She was 34, 2 years younger than me, but she carried herself like someone who'd just won the lottery. Michael, she said softly, I hope you understand how much I need your expertise. I couldn't succeed without you. I stared at her. Rebecca had worked at the company for exactly 12 months. 12 months versus my 14 years. Why? The word escaped before I could stop myself. Why Rebecca instead of me? Silence filled the room. My brother James suddenly became very interested in his briefcase. Mom's smile went stiff. Dad cleared his throat. Michael, we've talked about this. Rebecca has vision for where we need to go. She's better with people. Clients love her. You're brilliant with operations and technical work. But I'm not CEO material, I finished for him. That's not what I'm saying, he replied, looking away. Mom stepped closer. Sweetheart, you're essential to this company. You'll still help behind the scenes. Rebecca will need your support. Behind the scenes. The words hit me hard. That's where I'd always been, right? Making everything work while others took credit. Rebecca stood and grabbed my hands. Michael, this partnership will be incredible. You know operations inside out, and I can bring in the major clients. Together, we'll be unstoppable. I looked into her eyes, the same green as mine and Dad's, and saw only confidence. She genuinely believed she deserved this. Congratulations, I finally said, pulling my hands away. Excuse me, I have work to do. I walked out, ignoring Mom calling my name. The hallway of Sterling Construction felt strange, like I was seeing it through a stranger's eyes. Photos lined the walls, construction projects, ribbon cuttings, handshakes with big clients. Dad appeared in most of them. Rebecca was in several recent ones. I searched but couldn't find a single photo with me in it. Behind the scenes, indeed. That night, I sat on my balcony with whiskey and my laptop, like I'd done countless times before. My apartment overlooked downtown Seattle, and the city lights sparkled. In the distance stood several buildings we'd constructed over the years, including the recently finished Preston Tower, our biggest project ever. The one that made Sterling a serious player. The Preston project had been mine from the start. I'd stayed up 3 days straight preparing that bid, calculating every cost, designing the innovative construction method that won us the contract over companies twice our size. Dad had been the face at presentations, of course, but the content had been entirely mine. Rebecca sent a text, "Hey bro, I know today was shocking. Let's get lunch tomorrow and discuss the transition. I value your input more than anyone's." I took another drink and didn't respond. An email notification appeared. Another issue with the Riverside development needing my attention. Always something needing my attention. I'd been working 70-hour weeks for years. Holidays spent at job sites. Vacations interrupted by emergency calls. Personal relationships sacrificed for the family business. All because I believed that someday, I'd own the company. What a fool I'd been. I closed my laptop and leaned back, staring at the night sky. A decision was forming in my mind, becoming clearer every moment. If I wasn't going to inherit the company, if all my effort meant so little to my family, maybe it was time to reconsider my dedication. No more 70-hour weeks. No more middle-of-the-night emergency calls. No more sacrificing my life for Sterling Construction. From now on, I would work my scheduled hours. Nothing more. I'd take weekends off. Use my vacation days. And most importantly, I'd start looking for other opportunities. The thought should have scared me. Instead, it felt like freedom. The next morning, I arrived at 8 a.m. sharp, almost an hour later than usual. Several employees did double takes. "Everything okay, Michael?" asked Helen, our receptionist who'd been with the company longer than I had. "Never better," I said, smiling. "Beautiful morning, isn't it?" My office was already buzzing. 4 voicemails from site supervisors, 16 emails marked urgent, 3 project managers waiting outside my door. I met with the project managers, listened to their problems, and gave clear instructions in 40 minutes. No hand-holding, no taking on their problems as my own. Just simple management. Rebecca appeared at my door around noon. "Ready for lunch?" "Can't today," I replied, eyes on my computer. "I have plans." She paused. "Oh, I thought we were discussing the transition." "Nothing to discuss. You're the heir. I'm operations. Business as usual." "Michael," she said, using that persuasive tone she'd perfected since childhood. "Don't be like this." I looked up. "Like what?" "I'm doing my job. Exactly my job. Nothing more, nothing less." She frowned, studying me. "Dad said you haven't returned his calls." "I've been busy. Too busy for the Westbrook bid. He said you were supposed to review the final numbers, but you haven't submitted them." I leaned back. "That wasn't on my calendar this week. If it's urgent, I can look at it next week." "Next week? Michael, the bid is due Friday." "Then someone should have scheduled it with proper lead time." "I'm sure you can handle it though. You're better with clients, after all." I returned to my computer. The silence stretched until Rebecca finally spoke, her voice tight. "Fine. I'll tell Dad you're unavailable." "You do that." At exactly 5 p.m., I shut down my computer, grabbed my things, and left. I didn't check for last-minute emergencies. Didn't do my usual rounds. Just left. The freedom was intoxicating. The Westbrook bid went out without my review. We lost to a competitor by a narrow margin. A mistake in materials estimation that I would have caught immediately. Dad called me to his office the following Monday. "What the hell is going on with you?" he demanded, face red. "We lost Westbrook because of a rookie mistake." I sat calmly. "That's unfortunate." "Unfortunate? We've been courting Westbrook for 4 years. This was our chance to break into the healthcare sector." "I believe Rebecca was handling that bid," I said evenly. "She doesn't have your eye for technical details yet," he said, frustrated. "She needed your expertise. And if someone had scheduled proper time for me to review it, I would have provided that expertise during business hours." Dad's eyes narrowed. "What's that supposed to mean?" "It means I'm no longer available 24/7. I work 8 to 5, Monday through Friday. I take lunch breaks. I go home on time. I don't check emails on weekends." "Since when?" "Since you made it clear that my 14 years of sacrifice meant nothing regarding succession." His face paled. "Is this about Rebecca? You're punishing the company because you're upset." "I'm not punishing anyone. I'm adjusting my work-life balance to reflect my actual position. An operations director with no stake in the future. Your compensation package hasn't changed." "Everything's changed, Dad. You can't expect me to work like an owner when you've made clear I'll never be one." Weeks passed. More contracts failed due to mismanagement. Rebecca was drowning. She didn't understand the technical constraints affecting our pricing and timelines. She made promises our teams couldn't keep. Meanwhile, I delivered exactly what my position required. Nothing more, nothing less. Then Mom showed up at my apartment on a Sunday, something she'd never done. "May I come in?" she asked. I let her in. My apartment was sparsely furnished. I'd never spent much time here before, always at work. Now I had evenings and weekends to make it feel like home. Mom noticed a half-finished model of Preston Tower on my dining table. "You're building a model?" "Just a hobby," I shrugged. She ran her fingers along the table edge, not meeting my eyes. Your father is very worried. The company's in trouble, Michael. I know. Rebecca is trying, but she's not ready to run a construction company. She never was. Mom's eyes flashed. That's not fair. She has other strengths. Being your favorite isn't a business qualification, Mom. She recoiled. Is that what you think? That we favored Rebecca? Didn't you? You gave her the company despite having no relevant experience or demonstrated commitment. What else would I call it? Mom sank onto my couch. We thought, your father thought, she could bring fresh perspectives. And you were so good at operations. So good we took you for granted. So reliable you assumed I'd always be there, working myself to death for a company that would never be mine. Your father wants to talk. About the future. About your role. Will you meet with him? I considered refusing, but they were still my parents. When? Tomorrow evening. Dinner at the house. I arrived at my parents' house at 6:30 p.m. the next evening. The traditional colonial-style home looked the same, meticulously maintained and imposingly elegant. Mom answered with relief on her face. Dad and Rebecca were already seated in the dining room. Rebecca looked up with a strained smile and dark circles under her eyes. Dad stood as I entered. Michael, he said, extending his hand. Thank you for coming. Dinner was tense. After dessert, Dad cleared his throat. Let's discuss the situation at Sterling Construction. We've lost 3 major contracts in 6 weeks. The Preston Group has threatened to cancel future projects. Subcontractors are worried about our stability. The company your grandfather started is at serious risk of collapse. And you think that's my fault? I think you could help prevent it if you wanted to. Rebecca leaned forward. Michael, I know I messed up. I'm in over my head. But this is our family legacy. Please don't let it fail because you're angry. It's not about anger. It's about value. Recognition. We recognize your value, Dad stressed. That's why we're here. We need you back, fully committed. On what terms? Equal partnership with Rebecca. Co-CEOs with clear division of responsibilities. You handle operations, technical oversight, project management. She handles business development, client relations, marketing, and succession. I asked, what happens when you fully retire? You'll share ownership, 60-40. I sat back. It was more than I'd expected, a complete reversal. But it felt hollow. This wasn't recognition of my worth. It was panic. Why the change of heart? 8 weeks ago, Rebecca was the clear heir. What's different now besides the company being in trouble? Dad's jaw tightened. You want me to say I was wrong? Fine. I was wrong. I underestimated how crucial your expertise is. I overestimated how quickly Rebecca could learn. I made a mistake. Is that what you need to hear? I shook my head slowly. What I needed was for you to see my value before the crisis. To recognize my 14 years of dedication before everything fell apart. To choose me because I earned it, not because you're desperate. So what are you saying? Dad demanded. You'll let the company fail out of pride. No. I'm saying I'm done working for Sterling Construction. The silence was absolute. Rebecca's face crumpled. Mom's hand rose to her mouth. Dad just stared. You can't mean that. I do. I pulled an envelope from my jacket and placed it on the table. My formal resignation, effective 3 weeks from today. I've accepted a position with Preston Development as their new Chief Operations Officer. Preston. Dad's voice was barely audible. You're going to work for Nathan. He made me an offer I couldn't refuse. Full executive authority. Significant ownership stake after 5 years. Recognition of my expertise from day one, not as a desperate afterthought. Rebecca found her voice. You're abandoning us. Your own family. No, Rebecca. The family abandoned me when you decided I was only good enough to work behind the scenes while you took center stage. I'm just recognizing reality and making the best choice for my future. Dad pushed away from the table, anger replacing shock. So that's it. 14 years and you just walk away, to our biggest competitor, no less. I gave Sterling Construction 14 years of my life. 70-hour weeks. Holidays. Weekends. Personal sacrifices you can't imagine. And when it came time to decide the future, you didn't even consider me. You just assumed I'd keep working myself to death to support Rebecca's inheritance. We've offered to fix that mistake, Mom said. Too little, too late, I said, standing. Michael, please, Rebecca's voice broke. We can work this out. The company needs you. I need you. I looked at my sister, the golden child, the favorite. For the first time, I saw fear in her eyes. Understanding that she was in over her head. You should have thought of that before accepting a company you weren't qualified to run. Actions have consequences. Welcome to the real world. As I turned to leave, Dad's voice stopped me. If you walk out now, don't expect to be welcomed back. You're choosing to become our competitor. There's no coming back from that. I paused, hand on the doorframe. I'm not your enemy, Dad. I'm just not your safety net anymore. You made your choice. Now I've made mine. The drive home felt surreal. I felt lighter than I had in years, as if a burden I'd carried forever had finally been lifted. There was also sadness. Family relationships would never be the same. The dream of leading Sterling Construction had died 8 weeks ago. But mostly, there was excitement. A new beginning. A chance to be recognized for my abilities. To build something on my own terms. My phone buzzed with texts from Rebecca and Mom, begging me to reconsider. I silenced it. Their fear was no longer my responsibility. After 14 years, I was finally free. I stood in Nathan Pierce's office overlooking the Seattle skyline. Preston Tower gleamed in the afternoon sun, a testament to what I could accomplish when my skills were recognized. The board approved the expansion plan, Nathan said, sliding documents across his desk. They were impressed with your efficiency projections. We're greenlit for the East Coast offices. I reviewed the documents, pride filling my chest. In 8 months, I transformed Preston's operations, streamlining processes and implementing innovations that increased profitability by 25%. When do we break ground? I asked. Next month. They want you to oversee the initial setup personally. Nathan leaned back. You've exceeded every expectation, Michael. This, he gestured to performance reports, is exceptional. Thank you for the opportunity. No need for thanks. In business, recognizing talent is just good sense. He paused. Have you heard from your family lately? The question caught me off guard. Not directly. I heard through the grapevine they're struggling. Lost the Westmore project last week. I nodded, feeling a complex mix of emotions. Satisfaction, certainly, but also a hint of sadness. They made their bed, I finally said. Nathan nodded. Indeed. Still, family is complicated. His words stuck with me as I drove home. Despite everything, there were moments I missed Sunday dinners. Easy conversations with Rebecca before business intervened. The feeling of belonging to something bigger. My phone rang, a number I didn't recognize. Michael, it's Helen. Helen from Sterling. How are you? I'm fine, but I thought you should know. Your father had a heart attack last night. The world seemed to tilt. Is he? He's stable. They're saying it was stress-related. Her voice softened. The company's in real trouble, Michael. Rebecca is in over her head, and your father's been working himself to the bone trying to keep things afloat. Why are you telling me this? Because despite everything, they're your family. And because there are 4 to 5 families who depend on Sterling for their livelihoods. Good people who had nothing to do with how you were treated. After we hung up, I sat watching the sunset paint the sky orange and pink. 8 months ago, I left Sterling without looking back. Determined to prove myself somewhere new. I'd exceeded my wildest expectations. I had nothing left to prove. Not to my parents. Not to Rebecca. Not even to myself. Maybe that's why, for the first time since leaving, I allowed myself to seriously consider what was happening at my family's company. Not with satisfaction at their struggles, but with objective assessment. Sterling Construction was failing. My father was in the hospital. Dozens of families faced uncertainty. And while none of that was my responsibility, I'd earned the right to say let Rebecca handle it. I discovered I couldn't just ignore it. Not because I owed anything to my family. Not because I'd forgotten their betrayal. But because the betrayal no longer defined me. I'd moved on, built a new life, proven my value. I was no longer hurt. I was acting from a position of strength. I picked up my phone and dialed Rebecca's number. It rang 3 times before she answered, her voice thin and exhausted. "Michael, is that you?" "It's me." Helen called about Dad. "How is he?" "Stable." She sounded tired. "The doctors say he needs to dramatically reduce stress." "And the company?" After a pause, "It's bad. We're losing the Miller contract next week unless we can cut costs by 12%. 3 project managers quit. Suppliers are demanding payment upfront because they've heard rumors we're going under." Her voice cracked. "I don't know what to do, Michael. I'm so far over my head." 8 months ago, such words would have given me vindication. Now they just made me sad. "I'm heading to the hospital," I finally said. "We should talk. About Dad. About the company. About options for everyone involved." "You do that? After everything?" I thought about Nathan's words about family being complicated. The satisfaction of proving myself at Preston. The 45 families depending on Sterling. "I'm not making any promises," I said gently. "But yes, I'll come talk." As I got back on the road, I realized something important. True freedom wasn't just about escaping the past or proving your worth. It was about choosing your path forward from a position of strength. On your own terms. Sometimes that might even mean circling back. Not to where you started, but somewhere new, built on the foundation of the old. I wasn't sure what would come from my conversation with Rebecca. Maybe nothing. Maybe a consulting arrangement to help stabilize the company. Maybe something else entirely. What I did know was that whatever happened next would be my decision. Made not from desperation or obligation, but with the confidence of someone who knew exactly what they were worth. And that, more than anything else, was the real victory. Living well. On my own terms. With the freedom to choose my own path forward.